Hello, Brick Sculptors, and welcome back to Brick Sculpt. This is Chris, and welcome to our July sort and chat. That's right, it's July, and we have some sorting to do. Now, you're probably wondering, where has Chris been? I know I've been a little sparse this month, or this last few weeks, and yeah, I've had a lot going on. I am taking a little bit of a sabbatical this month. I'm not completely stepping away for right now, but scaling it back a little bit. I had a lot of things going on, and you know, we'll talk about it a little bit here. But I have this nice bin of white that needs to be broken down, so that's what I want to do today. I'm just going to sort some white. It's not going to be the most colorful video I've ever done, but my white bins are looking a little bare, and I got a lot of stuff in here that could be put away. So we're going to break this down. I'm going to break it down into a few different piles and then put it in some bins. Hopefully put a little dent in this today. So that's the goal. As you might know if you watch these videos, these aren't always intended for everyone. These are just a way for me to share things about the channel and what's going on in my life a little bit. So if you like this kind of video, stick around. Maybe do some sorting with me. It's going to be a little bit longer. And if you don't, that's all right. We'll see you in the next one. All right. So let's sort some of this out here and talk about Brick Sculpt. So yeah, as I mentioned, July has been a little bit sparse. Nothing crazy going on. I've just wanted to take a little bit of a step back. This is not going to be the end of Brick Sculpt. Don't fear. This is a temporary thing. But as I've mentioned on this channel in the past, this is kind of seasonal for me. And it's kind of seasonal opposite my work life because I have a quite seasonal job. Now, that will change. Summers are tough for me. So I manage a bike shop, as you may know. And bike shops in Illinois, at least, make all their money in the summer, spring, and fall. But particularly the summer, June, July, and August are our busiest months of the year. Oh, excuse me, it's late. I'm tired. Yeah, I'm coming home pretty tired. I didn't script that, I promise. That was a real yawn. Yeah, so, you know, it's kind of tricky. I always love messing around with Lego, making videos, all that kind of stuff. But, you know, just lately I've had a lot on my plate, and I was trying to scale the schedule back to like 2 videos a week, maybe 3 videos a week. And I just kind of fell out of it. I did a short vacation. It was a lot of fun. Went to Saginaw, Michigan. First time I'd ever been there. Really cool little town. Lots of fun stuff to do. They're great beaches. I mean, fantastic beaches. And if you haven't been, that's a great place to visit. Kind of pricey. It's a very touristy type town, but you get what you pay for, right? So yeah, nice little trip there. It's a couple-day trip. I am taking another short vacation shortly downstate in Illinois. So those things are also kind of disrupting the channel a little bit because I will have some time away from home. So yeah, the combination of that, the combination of just my energy levels when I get home from work, and the combination of all these things together. The other thing that's kind of fueling it, I have a wife who is a teacher, which means that she is home for 3 months. And so that kind of makes my schedule busier, and that there's a lot more things that we're doing when she's home. And I also have a 7-year-old daughter who's on summer break from school, and that also makes my schedule, well, I can't talk, busier because I want to do things with her too when she's home more. So there's just been a lot of stuff going on, and unfortunately YouTube has not been at the top of the list. I apologize, there's a fly in here, so you might see me freak out in this video a couple times because I'm trying to catch this fly. Or he might show up on camera. We'll see. But yeah, there's a fly roaming around this room. But anyway, yeah, just so much going on. You know, I've been kind of doing things here and there. I promise I am going to finish the summer challenge. I'm not going to flake out on that. I've been getting entries. Stuff's looking awesome. I've been having fun building my own stuff a little bit. I need to get back to work on that. I got some work to do still by the end of the month. Still plenty of time if you guys want to take part in the summer challenge. All space themed. Nice change of pace from the typical Brick Sculpt challenges. So if you're interested, check that out. I'll link that at the end of the video here. And yeah, it's due the end of the month. So plenty of time still to do at least one build, if not multiple. Yeah, looking forward to finishing that up. I will do all of that as planned. That's not going to be interrupted by this short sabbatical. But yeah, some of my regular videos have been interrupted here. My goal... So July is going to be kind of my chill month here, is kind of what I'm telling myself. And then August, I'm going to try to get a little bit back in the swing more. So I'm going to make more of a dedicated schedule for myself and hold myself to it a little bit. It's not going to be full swing because it is still summer. I am still busy. I'm insane at work, and it's just, I come home exhausted. I move heavy boxes around all day. I lift heavy bikes up and down stairs all day. And I'm just beat. You know, I come home and the last thing I want to do is go sit in the basement and shoot videos and sit on my computer. So, yeah, I just want to sit on the couch sometimes. And I need to do less of that, but it's easier said than done sometimes. So yeah, I'm gonna try to get a little bit more active in August. Hopefully I can keep August to like 2 to 3 videos a week. And I think I can do that if I pre-plan it and actually sit down and say, okay, here's the plan, here's what I'm going to do, and then execute on it. So hopefully we'll have some better content for August. But like I said, July, between the couple short trips I'm taking and the work and all that, it's just going to be a little bit weak of a July. Now on the flip side, the plus side here, in winter, it gets pretty boring around the bike shop. And I come home with lots of energy because usually I sit around the shop with nothing to do, or very little to do. I'm always working. So winter is my time to shine on YouTube. That's when I'm going to be plugging away a little harder. So hopefully, as the weather changes, we're going to ramp it up. And hopefully, I don't think I'll ever get back to every day because that was a little much and I was getting burnt out. But every other day seemed to work well. And what I really liked, my favorite schedule was Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, Sunday. I really liked that schedule because it gave me every other day during the week and then both days on the weekend. My goal for winter will be to get back to that, which would be 4 videos a week. And we'll see if we get, I should be able to do that again. That was very manageable, especially if the rest of my life isn't as crazy as it is now. So that's the goal. We'll see what happens. But yeah, and unfortunately I haven't been spending a ton of time on the Lego stuff. Did some stuff with my micro builds. I did that video a couple days ago showing off my micro builds. Those were so much fun to build. I'm really excited to do more of that. Unfortunately, I did those for the challenge, and I kind of don't know where to go with it. I've got some thoughts in my head, and then some things that are holding up those thoughts as well. I'll share them with you now. One of my thoughts, and I mentioned this in the last Sort and Chat, I believe it was the last Sort and Chat, was to tear down the entire Lego city at some point and rebuild it in an entirely different fashion. And the idea I had was a giant micro space themed or sci-fi themed layout. Could be fun. You know, I've been building all these little spaceships. This is one I have here sitting next to me. And I can just imagine, like, hey, what if I built 50 of these and spread them all throughout and at different elevations, and maybe I made a assembly line where they're building these things, and you know, I have some alien invaders, and I have all kinds of little storytelling elements in it. Oh, excuse me, sorry for the yawns. As you might know, I try to do these mostly unedited because they're longer videos and I don't want to go through and edit all, so I treat it more like a live stream, even though it's not live. But anyway, I thought that could be kind of fun. And I like the idea. A couple holdups. Number one, I've never been one to keep my cities super long term. But I've also haven't been one to keep them super short term. I've had the city completed now for a few months. And when I say completed, keep in mind, cities are never completed in my eyes. But it's to the point where it's presentable. I did a show with it. I showed it off a little, and I've really haven't been touching it much lately. So it's completed if I want it to be completed. Otherwise, it's an ever expanding, ever growing, ever improving project, let's say. But I haven't had it that long. Now, on the flip side, I also have it more completed than most cities have ever done. Actually, I'll say than any city I've ever done. And it's definitely the most detailed, most skillfully built, is the way I want to say it, city I've ever done. So it's kind of more difficult to just say, okay, tear it down, let's start over. Will it go away? Yes. The question isn't if, it's when. Eventually it will be destroyed and there will be something else in its place. Now the question is that does that happen next month? Does that happen next year? Does that happen in 2 or 3 years? 2 or 3 years is probably out. I would say next year we will see something different there. And the other problem is, does my idea change? Let's say I want to keep it through this year. Well, there's a lot of this year left. We're about halfway through the year. 6 months from now, I might be way over doing micro spaceships and want to do something different. So I don't know what to do. and I don't want to rush into anything because, you get a little bit of regret. You tear down a whole Lego city and then don't have the energy to rebuild or anything. Part of my holdup too is while enjoying this break or sabbatical, let's call it, my little stepping back here, I do make a little bit of revenue on YouTube. It's not a lot. It does not pay the bills, but it does fortunately fuel the hobby. So it kind of takes away the guilt of spending a few $100s on Lego every now and then. But while I'm not putting out as many videos, I'm definitely not bringing in the revenue I was, which is totally fine because I'm also not building as much as I was. So part of it is, okay, if I do start totally over, especially if I change themes, a lot of the parts that are very important to have for city building, which is like my entire collection, are not going to be the greatest parts for sci-fi stuff. So there will be an investment to it that if I want to change themes, it's going to require some different stuff, different colors, different shapes. All the parts I normally would ignore, all the stuff I wouldn't use much in the city is going to be like the stuff I'll use the most in sci-fi. All the weird pieces, all the weird colors, the stuff that's not ultra realistic looking. So that's another concern is, okay, I'm gonna have to spend some coin on this. So, and I'm always willing to do it. It's just a little harder to swallow right now when I'm not bringing in a big, I shouldn't say big, but a decent amount of revenue from the channel. So that's also on my mind a little bit. So I guess what I'm trying to say is I need to slow down and maybe do some soul searching and decide what I actually want to do, put some serious thought into it, take my time before rushing into it, and figure out what I actually want to do with the city. And that might mean that it's going to stay the way it is through the year and then next year start something new. That's most likely what I'm going to do. Doesn't mean the space layout might not happen. I just want to make sure it's the right thing to do before I jump into it. So yeah, in the meantime, what does that mean? Well, probably less city building stuff, at least on the actual city. Maybe I'll still make some improvements, who knows. but I'm probably going to focus on some smaller builds, some smaller ideas. Maybe I can use that as a way of like testing some ideas, you know, try some small scale stuff out and see what will make for a nice layout, you know, and maybe start with a small, you know, 16 by 16 and then do a bigger diorama, you know, 24 by 24 or 36, I don't know, and then basically see what looks good and eventually maybe make a whole table full of it, whatever it may be. But and that way I can feel more confident about buying a whole bunch of different parts if it requires a lot of different stuff from what I already own. So I think that'll work probably better for me. Now you're probably wondering why I have so many white parts. I do sorting quite frequently, and it's not my favorite thing to do. In fact, these videos actually really help me get motivated to sort, because it is kind of strange, though I am literally sitting in my basement talking to myself right now. It's very socially engaging because I know that people are going to listen to this and respond to it in comments. And so it is almost like a social interaction, even though I am completely alone right now. It's very strange. Something I wasn't used to a few months ago. But it actually, it works really well. And like I said, it motivates me to do these sorts. It makes it a little more fun than just sitting here in silence or with music on. And it does help me. And hopefully it helps you guys get motivated to sort. I know a lot of people have mentioned they sort along with me, which is kind of cool. But anyway, the white. Why do I have all these white pieces? So when I sort, it is not uncommon for me to sort by color. In fact, that's pretty much always my method. I sort by color because all my bins are by color, and then I can kind of grab one color at a time and put them away. Well, the four biggest color piles are always white, black, light gray, and dark gray. And they are the parts I have the most of, and I think everyone's probably in that same boat. And the parts that are the least fun to put in the bins because I have so many of them. You know, if I have a small pile this size of dark green, I'm like, yeah, that'll take me 30 seconds to put that away. But when I have this, it's like, let's throw that in a bin and get to it later. And that's what happens. And so it takes a little bit longer for me to put it away, and often it piles up, so I might have 3 or 4 sorts that sit in a bin, which then I resort to my old ways of, okay, I need a part, let's search through a bin, and that's counterproductive to the amazing system I've built here to hold all my parts. So time to do some catch up, and in fact I have a bin just like this for black and a bin just like this for gray that I need to tap into at some point also, but white was the most pressing for right now. That's why I'm doing white. And I think it's also the fullest bin of all of these. I have a lot of white stuff. I don't know why. I mean, in my builds, white doesn't seem like the most obvious choice, but for a lot of things I build, it is. I don't know, but I have a lot of white parts, and I think that's pretty common too for Lego builders. I'm kind of getting to the point here. I've got maybe still more than half in that bin, but I've got a lot on the table here, and I know my bins aren't going to hold all of this. I usually do keep a bin for just spare plates because all my plates don't fit in the white bin. It's just way too much stuff, and depending on what I've built lately, like sometimes I'll have a mock, it'll take up a bunch of this, and then the mock gets taken apart, and I got to find a home for it all again. And these bins I have hold a decent amount, but they're small. You know, I've always described my collection as a big Lego collection, but not a massive or huge Lego collection. So I have a little bit of everything, but yes, the bulk colors, your whites and blacks and grays, I have a lot of. So it takes a little bit more to sort it out and get it put away. I'm going to start putting some of this plate away and grab one of these bins here. I'm sure if you're the type of fan who watches the Sort and Chat videos, you probably are familiar with these bins. These are Plano tackle boxes. I have historically bought them from one place and one place only, and that is Walmart, because the pricing is better than anywhere else I can find it. Not a huge Walmart person, to be honest with you, but this is one item that I buy there and pretty much exclusively there. You can see here my white bin's looking pretty pathetic. Lots of empty spots. There's probably some messes in here I need to clean up. So yeah, let's dive in here. Like this is 2x4 tiles, which I have a ton of these because they were on Pick-a-Brick a couple times. And I use them for a lot of cool stuff. I used a ton of them in the Washington Monument, but I have like one in the bin. That's crazy, because that's a part I have a million of. So yeah, we're just going to try to get as much as we can here in this bin. Fill it up a little bit. And I have to be careful saying this because I always get a ton of suggestions. And I do read your guys' comments. I do read your emails. I love your feedback. Don't be offended if I don't always reply. I try my best. This month I've been kind of bad at it, to be honest. It's tough to respond to all the stuff. And, you know, there's so many great ideas out there. Unfortunately, I only have so many hours and energy, and you know, I'm only one person, so as much as I'd love to take on every single idea I get thrown at me, unfortunately I can't. But what I'm getting at here is, you know, if you have any ideas for me for what to do next, I'm all ears. So let me know. But again, it's I'm only one person, so your idea may or may not happen, and don't be offended if it doesn't. But what kind of mess do I have here? This is not right. These should be down here. This is all out of sorts. I don't know if you can see in here real well. I don't really want to move the camera, to be honest. This is not... We're not starting with the most organized bin here, unfortunately. A lot of times as these bins get low, they just get kind of ransacked, and you don't really know what you're going to get. There's that fly. I heard him. I don't know if you can hear that, but he was just buzzing around me. It's funny, before I started shooting this, I'm like, okay, I'm doing a sort and chat. It's going to be a long video. Ah, it's on my neck. As I'm doing a sort and chat, I gotta kill this fly or get it out of here before I start filming. And I was, you know, sat around, looked for it for a while, and then of course it wasn't flying around. I'm like, all right, I can't do this. I'm gonna be here for an hour trying to kill a fly. So we're filming anyway, and if a fly gets in the camera, so be it. What a mess. Yeah, this is a pretty ugly bin right here. These are jumpers that have been cut. I used those for a video a long time ago, so they were cut in the name of science, I promise. I don't cut a lot of pieces. I used to when I was younger, in my teen years of Lego play. It was not uncommon for me to make custom pieces. I know a lot of people frown upon that, and today I frown upon most of that, at least for myself. I don't care what you do. If you want to cut up your own stuff, it's your own stuff. Just don't do it to mine. That's fine by me. But yeah, when I was younger, I was all about modifying parts. I did weird stuff. You know, I'd paint things and, you know, and just play with it. You know, I was a kid. These were toys. Now it's a little different for me. For better or for worse, who knows? But yeah, I don't do a lot of modification anymore. But also, like, back then, the part selection was a lot different. So, you know, like, bar pieces, like, didn't exist. You know, you had the kind of bars that had the stud holder on the bottom, but you didn't have, like, 3 long bars and 4 long bars. Those, like, weren't a thing. You had the 6 long ones that had the bump in the middle, and you had the 5 long that had the stud holder, and that was it. And so if you did need just a regular bar, you were cutting one. And I did that a lot. I cut a lot of bars. But that was just a different time in a different stage of my Lego history. So yeah, not too much here though anymore. All right, we're getting, bin's looking a little better here. I got to plug more stuff in here, but man, that was a mess. And the funny thing is, every one of these things I know I have a ton of, and it's just like crazy that these are so empty. Like white jumpers, I have hundreds of white jumpers, and my bin has like 15 in it, which is just nuts because they're all in this bin or in mocks. One of my favorite expressions that a fan had said on the channel, they said you got to feed the mock, and I love it because it's so true. You know, when you're building something like a city that covers a table, you know, it's not hard to go spend $100-$200 on parts and it's like just gets swallowed up. You know, like one house you build, you know, you're looking at $100 or more in parts, and it just eats it up, and then you got to keep building, and you're trying to cover a whole table. It goes away fast, and you got to buy more, and that, for a lot of people, I think can be discouraging for them in this hobby. And I really want to emphasize, you know, I try to build to the highest level I can. I am by no means the best Lego builder out there. And I don't claim to be, but I think that it's important that people Lego at their own speed, let's say. I saw a video recently on YouTube. I don't remember who put it out, but it hit home with me. And the video is talking about how complicated Lego has got. And, you know, you would think somebody like me who makes videos on technique every now and then and tries to talk about weird, you know, things and more adult Lego stuff would be like, oh, that's dumb. Of course, it's better that way. And I do think it's better that way, but I also see the other side of it. You know, I'd hate to see people discouraged from wanting to experiment with Lego and build with Lego because of the complexity of it. I mean, if you look at the complexity of Lego sets, you know, even 15 years ago, but let's say more like 20 years ago, or 25 years ago, you know, around 2000. I mean, it was a different world. You know, everything was built bottom up. There was very little snot. There was very little jumpers. It was a completely different system. And people were still making super cool stuff. The problem is, like nowadays, a lot of that cool stuff from back then isn't appreciated the same today because of the other cool stuff they're making. And if you take a modern Lego set, if you knew nothing about Lego, like nothing, you're brand new to it today, and you took a modern Lego set that came out this year and saw that, and then somebody showed you even like a pretty complex Lego set from year 2000, you would laugh at it and you'd say, this one's a toy and this one is art. You know what I mean? It's completely different. And again, I totally appreciate that. Obviously, my whole channel, what I do is all based around trying to be realistic and trying to share complex techniques. I'm all about that. But I'd hate for somebody to not want to do this stuff because they're holding themselves to that standard, if that makes sense. I think everyone needs to take on this hobby at their own speed. I think it's very easy for somebody to go on YouTube and see somebody, like maybe me, but maybe even somebody beyond my abilities, and there's plenty of those out there, and be like, how do I be like that? You know, how do I do that? And try to hold themselves to a standard that they're not ready for. You know, I'm less than perfect Lego builder, and I've been doing it since I was a child. And I've, you know, had things that have drastically helped me and give me an advantage over others, such as this YouTube channel. The amount I've learned from this channel has just rocketed my knowledge forward, you know, accelerated it much faster than it normally would have if I didn't have the channel, if that makes sense. Through input, through pushing myself, it's really accelerated it faster than it normally would if I was just building on my own. But I hope that others don't find that need, that they can be happy with their creations, regardless of what skill level that they're in. It's kind of, as I say this, it seems very relatable to another thing I was really into as a kid. I was really into skateboarding. It was a huge hobby of mine. When I was between about 16 years old, I started skating, maybe 15 or 16. I started skateboarding, and it consumed my life. I loved skateboarding. I skateboarded in the summer every single day, sun up to sundown. It's what I wanted to do. I absolutely loved it. It was so much fun. My friends did it, and that's just what we did all summer. And the biggest problem with skateboarding, and I see this still today, the learning curve is massive. So if you pick up a skateboard for the first time and you're like seeing these guys on skate videos and TV or whatever, and you're like, I want to do that. And then you go pick up a skateboard and walk outside and say, I'm going to do what I just saw that guy in that video do, or something, maybe a step down, and you're humbled really quickly because it is a very difficult thing to learn. Most people who pick up a skateboard, you spend a year on a skateboard, and by the end of the year, you'll be good at pushing it, and you can probably ollie, and if you're lucky, you can maybe try to kickflip. And that's about it. And that's in a year. If you want to get good at it, it takes a very long time, unless you're a complete natural, which I've only met a few who can, pick it up quickly. It happens, but it's not common. It takes forever to learn. And it's cool because then when you do learn it, it's kind of empowering. I can do this skill that's challenging for most people, and people look at it like, wow, and I was never a fantastic skater. I was decent, I could hold my own, but I was never wowing people. I could do basic tricks, rails, mini ramp stuff, smaller gaps, tricks down, things like that. Nothing crazy. But it was fun, and it was something I was really into, but just to learn that stuff is incredibly difficult for most normal people. And, unfortunately, I see it today with the younger people. I still do skate a little bit here and there. It's a lot more painful as you get older, so I don't do as much as I used to. You see young people, and a lot of them just get so discouraged because they don't want to put in the time and energy to learn it. And I totally understand. I'm not saying they're lazy by any means. It is a commitment. If you want to say that you're a good skateboarder, or even I am a skateboarder, it's not as simple as picking up a board. It takes practice, time, energy, dedication. It is a skill. And again, I think Lego is super similar, in that it can be very discouraging. You go online and see people building these amazing things and say, I want to do that, but these skills take time. They take baby steps. And I'd like to see more. I think it is. I don't think it's a real problem yet, but I'd like to see. I don't like to see people get discouraged from the hobby because of that. That learning curve that it requires, and build at your own speed. Enjoy what you're doing. Otherwise, don't do it, because I build Lego for me. Yeah, I might have it up on YouTube, but at the end of the day, this is all for me. It's all a way for me to enjoy myself, and hopefully you guys can have some fun with it too. Hopefully I can learn something. Hopefully you guys can learn something. That's really all it's about. And I don't do this as a job. I don't think I ever will do this for a job, like a real job at least. And I think that would just take the fun out of it for me. Trying to have to keep up with it that much, I think would kind of ruin it. And I never want to get to the point where I dread coming down to the sculptuary. That's what I call this room now. And building, and be like, I have to go do that again. 'Cause, everything does that. I have a pretty fun job. I've worked in bike shops for a long time. I got into it when I was younger. I've always been an outdoorsy person. Skateboarding led into mountain biking, a little bit of BMX, but I was never much of a BMX person. But then I got into more road biking. I did a little bit of bike racing, mountain bike racing a little bit, cyclocross racing I did a lot of, and just general, having fun on bicycles, and that got me into that hobby and turned it into what was a job, and then went to college and then realized I liked that job I used to have and turned it into a career. And that's kind of my journey there. But where was I going with this? Oh, yeah, the honeymoon phase, so I do have a fun job. I work in a bike shop. I get to work with cool stuff, but it's not as fun as it was at one point. I'm not saying I don't enjoy it. I'm saying that, when I was younger, it was like I get to go to work in a bike shop and it's awesome. I get to be around this stuff all day. I get to talk to people about this stuff all day, and I still enjoy that, and I still love bicycles, and I know a lot about them, but I'd be lying if I said I had the amount of enthusiasm for bicycles that I did 15 years ago when I was getting into that industry, maybe more like 20 years ago. Man, it's been a while. 2007, I started selling bikes. There was some pauses in there, but for the most part, it's been pretty consistent since 2007. But anyway, it is a job now, and I feel it if I took Lego down that path where I said I want to be a full-time Lego YouTuber, or, sell Lego or something like that, or merch or all this, as you get more serious with it, that's why you see all these YouTubers bringing in things like merch and things like, Patreon, which I have, but I'm not real happy about. My own fault, not you guys. If you're Patreons, thank you for your support. I did not uphold my hope, and I don't uphold my end of the bargain well, but it takes that fun out of it. And I'll be honest with you, when I stop having fun with Lego, if that ever happens, God forbid, I hope it doesn't. Rick, stand up. That will be when I stop doing this. That I do this for my enjoyment, and I do it for your enjoyment. And if I'm not enjoying it, I won't do it anymore. But those days are a long way, and or hopefully never. But and don't mistake this little July sabbatical as my retirement from YouTube, because it definitely isn't. This is a temporary thing. Let myself get a little bit of a break here, and then we're going to hit it again hard come fall and winter. Just need to get my bearings back and swing it back into full gear. A lot of times with any hobby, but especially with the Lego YouTube thing, momentum is everything, and you give yourself that chance to walk away from it, even for a short period of time. Even if it's, my schedule is I do 3 videos a week, and you go, okay, this week I'm only going to do 2. The impact is huge. I mean, you wouldn't think it is, at least for me. I don't know if everyone's the same, but at least for me, because, that little minor reason to not do it turns into like an excuse for every other day. And again, I don't want to make excuses. I'm going to take this little bit of break. I'm going to scale back. It's going to come back around. But momentum, even, I'll tell you right now, even filming this right now, I'm buzzing a little bit. Like, it's real easy to sit on the couch and say, I don't want to do this. And the second I get up, turn the camera on, and start talking, it's like, man, I want to film 3 more videos. You got to get that momentum going. And the more I do, the more I want to do. And the more I don't do, the more I don't want to do it. So yeah, we're going to get some momentum going again. We'll get back to this. For next month, I'm definitely going to write out like a schedule. So that should help. I'm going to sit down. I'm going to plan the month out a little better and stick to it. And again, it's going to be a little weaker than some of my previous months, but it should be pretty good and content rich. Hopefully, I don't want to leave you guys out to dry. I know a lot of people like to watch this stuff. I appreciate all your support. You guys mean a lot to me, and we're gonna keep it going. I just gotta get through the summer here. As for the bike shop, I mentioned we've been nonstop busy. That's pretty typical this time of year. I've been at the current bike shop I'm working at. I've been there for, this is my 6th or 7th summer. 2019 was my first summer, so yeah, 7th summer there. I always count it in summers because that's what matters there. If you get through a summer, that's a year for me. because for a lot of our employees, we only have in the summer because we're seasonal. So the summers are what counts. 7th summer there, and I've worked in other bike shops for many more summers. But this particular bike shop, we've done a little bit change of pace for me, and I've kind of helped captain this, but where we've taken a pretty heavy shift towards electric bikes, which is very common in the bike industry right now. It's for some people a hot topic, but it's the most popular aspect of the bike world right now. It's growing faster than anything else in the bike world right now. In all honesty, it's where all the money is in the bike world right now, for better or for worse. I think it's for better. I could make some great arguments on that. You might think it's for worse, but that's a different debate for a different day. But it has definitely changed the pace of the store, let's say. Like, the clientele is a little different. It's a little bit faster pace. We're turning bigger transactions faster, and it's kind of cool. I really like it. You would think like, oh, this guy used to race bikes quite a bit, and he likes high-end fancy bikes. I do love all that stuff, but the longer I've been in the bike industry, the more drawn I've been to like the business side of it. Like, yeah, it's super cool to see a really high-end bike and fun to work on and fun to sell, but at the same time, like, it's also really fun to ring up like $2,000 e-bikes in a day. Like, that gives me an adrenaline rush far greater than selling a $6,000 carbon bike. And it's just how I've kind of matured with the the business, and it's just, I don't know. I really like that aspect. I didn't think I would, but I really dove in hard with it, and I've really helped the shop. We've definitely transformed. The business I'm in is it's a going on 40-year-old business. It's been there for a very long time. I'm sorry, going on 45-year business. It's been there a very long time. And I obviously haven't been there that long, but I used to compete with the shop I work at now, so I know a lot about them, and I've worked there for a while now. But it was very transformative, because obviously you go back 10 years, no one was riding e-bikes. Very few people had e-bikes in this country at that point. They were around, but very rare. And now they're absolutely everywhere. And there's certain things we don't do with them, but transforming a business of that age that, was around selling steel 10 speeds, in that same space, we're now selling these e-bikes, mostly to seniors, but not always. A lot of younger people buy them too. The area we're in has a lot of older folks, so we do sell a lot of e-bikes to people who are older. But it's been a pretty cool transformation. And, it's I don't know if it's sad to say. For some people it might be. For some shops it might be. But it's kind of a cool, like, new birth of attention to the bike world. We're seeing there's been certain eras of the bike industry where it's been ups and downs. Like, for instance, Lance Armstrong. I know all the scandals and everything, but when I started selling bikes in 2007 was toward the end of Lance's career, when he was actually racing and riding and winning. And it was the hottest thing ever. In the early 2000s, love Lance Armstrong or hate him, the guy sold so many bikes in the U.S. market. Not him personally, but his persona, his image. He was to cycling what Tiger Woods is to golf. You saw this guy in America finally had a hero on the bikes, because cycling is a historically European sport. And we finally had our own hero, and America loved it. They're buying road bikes left and right. And that's what got me into the business. That's what got me into road bikes and racing, was people like that and the buzz around the industry. And, that was what you sold back then. If you were a shop and you weren't selling road bikes back then, you probably weren't making money. But now it's kind of the opposite. A lot of this higher end stuff has fizzled down a little bit. There's still plenty of shops doing it, don't get me wrong. But the niche has changed. There was also, previous to that, there was a mountain bike boom. There was at one point in this country, there was a choice you had to make. Did you want a single-speed cruiser or a 10-speed race bike? And then eventually they created the mountain bike, and in the 80s and into the 90s, mostly 90s, and everyone bought a mountain bike. I mean, it was finally like, here's a recreational bike that has gears, it's comfortable, it's easy to ride. This is a bike for normal people, where the cruisers were clunky and heavy and no one really wanted them in any area that had any sort of elevation, and the 10 speeds were too sporty and aggressive for most anyone to ride unless they were in shape. And so now all of a sudden there was this bike, even though it was made for off-road, everyone had to have a mountain bike, and they sold a ton of them. Now that was previous to my time in the bike business, but it was a trend, the mountain bike trend. Then you had a road bike boom. There was a previous road bike boom in like the I think it was 80s, 70s, where everyone was buying road bikes then. We had a hybrid boom in the 2000s when all of a sudden these mountain bikes, people realized you're leaning over too far. So now they wanted mountain bikes that were upright. They call them hybrids, comfort bikes, whatever. So there's just these trends. And I look at e-bikes as another trend that we're going through. The cool thing with e-bikes is nobody owns them. Well, nobody did own them. So where a lot of these bike trends were, okay, road bikes have become popular again. You know, they were already popular and they're popular again. Mountain bikes are making a resurgence again. This time it's like, this is something completely new. And so 0% of the population had them 10 years ago. And now we're up to, you know, so there's just so much new business there. And it's bringing so many people back to the bike world that have written off cycling altogether, which is pretty cool. Yeah, I'll stop preaching about bikes here because I know that's not what you're here for. You're here to hear about Lego. But, you know, I find this stuff kind of relatable. And these kind of things happen with Lego too. You know, Legos come in spells up and down. You know, it gets popular some years. It dies down some years. Recently, it's been super hot. But things go through phases. You know, things go through trends. They change. You know, if anyone is in business or interested in business, the best piece of advice I give you is follow the trends. Even if you don't engage with them, even if it's not what you're into, know what's going on, because, you know, you follow those things. That's where all the money is. You know, that's where the new business is. That's where you make it. And the person that's on top of those the most is the one who does the best with it. You know, and in our shop with the e-bike stuff, we were on it early, and all the other shops around us were playing catch up, and they're still playing catch up. We're years ahead of them in what we're providing from e-bikes from all my competition. You know, very few shops around us compete. And the ones that do are usually the newer businesses that are started up as e-bike shops. And we still do all the other standard bikes as well. But we do a pretty heavy focus on electric now. Anyway, that's enough about bicycles. Let's see here. We're going on about 47 minutes, and I've got some pretty good sorting done here. We made a pretty good dent in this. Not perfect, but I got a lot of my snot pieces put away. I got all my plates put away. I can call that a successful night. I'm getting tired, looking forward to taking a shower, going to bed, and then going back to work tomorrow. So thank you guys for sticking around. Hope you guys still like these kind of videos. There's that fly. It just went past me. If you have any questions, please let me know below in the comments. I'll do my best to answer them. If you like these videos, please like and subscribe and do more just like this in the future. That's life for this time, and we will see you next time.